Fighter, cultist, sharpshooter, cleric. You whack him. You whack him.
Take you!
I'm gonna kill the sharpshooter. Go for it. Oh! Dude, straight one-shotted. Oh, and another one-shot. And a triple one-shot. Oh my god. Everyone whack him.
You cry.
Oh, shit. This game's fucking awesome. Damn. That was so good. That wasn't even fair. One gun for one kill. Oh, I gotcha. So you gotta get like every bullet on. Yeah, I don't want to even count that. That was just straight up stupid. Let's see what happens if it is. For science! Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, pretty much what that happened. Okay. What the goddamn character? Okay, come on. Does everything just accidentally tapped one button? Note to self, don't press shift. Shift bad. Shift very bad. Just restart that whole part. Just wondering if there was a speedy crouch. Ugh, speedy crouching move type of thing. Night night, puppy. Darn Nazi dogs. I could only imagine what his armor would look like after you look at him and he's just covered in like screwdrivers and plates and helmets that he's duct taped to his body. Dang it, I always get stuck right on that corner. Don't mind us. No, oh god dang it. Move, you doof. Suck it, noob. Half the bullets. BJ shirtless 90% of the game, yeah. So he builds himself metal t-shirts. I don't think he heard that. Somehow. Sweet, dude. Free armor. I mulched the poor guy. I'm here to free you. With nothing but a t-shirt on, I've never felt so beautiful. Babies, I do now. Now that I'm with you. Oh god. You saw nothing. Oh my god, he really didn't see it. Pull the thing, pull the thing, pull the thing. He's about to turn. Kill him. Yeah. Ha. You're mine now. We're gonna have a good time in the dungeon. I gotta say, not bad for not really knowing what the heck I'm doing half the time. I'm not the worst Nazi killer ever. Dang it, always making me drop the cool equipment. Can't I just jump? Oh god, dang it. Okay, I thought that was gonna be a lot farther. Alright, let's go. What? What? What the fuck? Hey, I made a pet. Follows me now, I guess. Well, at least I can bring it down here faster, I think. Oh my god, it's so glitched. Yeah, it's glitched as fuck. I legitimately can't even look at it. Oh shit! Where the fuck? Aww. Alright, well that's fun. Cool. I'm just infinite spitting. Still fires arrows. Let me see what happens if I do this. Oh, nothing. Well, that's... oh god, that's nauseating. And... alright. Guess I gotta load. Accidentally joined the Skyrim space program.
Oh, it's sweet.
They're all scraped off.
Oh, that's pretty freaking nice.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and that's the helmet. Oh, okay, that's freaking cool. So they built the helmet for the main girl from the campaign, like the person who did all the facial stuff, and then gave it to her. That's pretty cool.
Clone ion disruptor attacks.
Grenade out. Rearming. Close attack.
Yeah! Yeah! That's how we do.
Grenade prime. Another trooper. I'm under fire. I'm on point. Follow me. Grenade.
What the frack just happened? It suddenly exploded for like no reason.
Roger, roger.
What was that? 6 kills, 1...
Forming squad.
That's why you make sure to be aware of your surroundings, because one droid could kill you all. Santa Claus is coming.
Yeah, now I know how that works. That's actually pretty sweet. So that's gonna be fun for later. Especially because I like to do Brotherhood stuff as long as possible without becoming a Nazi, basically.
Dumb and Ugly had a child.
Get out of my sight.
Super mutant.
I'm so sorry. That pushing is so great. Oh man. All here is if Dumb and Ugly has a child, and then a show Valentine. Bugaboo. Alright, let me get back in. Vroom vroom. Am I gonna just auto shoot? Oh my god, it did. Who you shooting at? Oh my god, you are shooting at me. Alright, let's get out of here. A-holes. Must be spies.
Mr. DeSanta, what the hell? That's not my house!
Bullshit.
Oh, bro, I couldn't afford a place like that. I'm a tennis coach. I hit balls for a living. I was just hiding there.
Give me a phone! You! You're a dead one! Green light! Green light! Martin McDonald's will
crap.
give you green light!
Oh, I'm
Russians.
scared, lady. Just fucking terrified.
Shit, we got some heavies on us, homie.
Are you kidding me?
I'm coming to Rooskies.
Kid, can you do something?
I'll try, man.
Here,
Try.
we'll mess him up. Oh, I gotta lose him? Okay.
You in control of this, huh? Hey! We fight back! This is intense, dog. Pop that dude. I got one.
Really want to get back up?
There you go.
You still alive?
I think we lost.
He ain't alive no more.
All right, let's go back home. Wow.
Shit. You did good.
I mean, your aim's all over the place, but you were a help.
Thanks. I guess.
Hey, don't get defensive. Go
You
to a
piece
shooting
of
range,
crap.
Work on your aim. You'll do fine.
No, fuck you! Okay. How do I... okay. Fuck you! No, fuck you! Ain't your buddy, pal. I'm just gonna kind of walk over here and... do I need the truck? Is critical. Hey BT, find us a power source then. You can do that, right? Hey, there we go. I really thought you guys were more scavengers.
Insufficient power.
I'll be back. I'm gonna call you Optimus. There is a stream. Yeah, that's why I was saying I hope he, watched it. Yacht! One piece of this? Huh? Bullets ain't enough, but my fists sure are. Fist of Fire champion.
Kappa 1 is on deck. Negative, Kappa 1. I need you at the testing facility. Alpha 6. Reposition at the fire bay.
Copy that. We're on our way.
Oh, why, hello. I forgot to readjust that. That's fine. Anyways. How's everyone doing? Oh, let me close this out. I might have been playing Call of Duty while I was waiting for everything to go down and stuff. But, yeah, we're gonna do more Assassin's Creed today. For at least 2 hours. And then I'm going to get back to probably playing some Call of Duty while I've been trying to stay away from 24 hours because of my, how'd I put it? Basically, my sleep schedule is so messed up that I've been undersleeping and oversleeping, but at the wrong times where it really is affecting my days. Like yesterday, I didn't wake up till 2 a.m., missed a rocket launch, and was very upset about it. So today, what we're gonna do is, we're gonna stream and do the normal thing. Let me turn that more that way. It's blinding the fuck out of me. Ah. I forgot to set it up. Got my controller all ready to roll. Oh, oops. Forgot to move it over. Oh, it's doing that again. Alright, 1 second. It's double rendering on. Okay, that should have fixed it. Cool. Yeah, I know some people wanted to see Call of Duty stuff, and I know, but I want to get through this game. Plus, this game, we stopped it right at the good part. It was starting to get exciting. So, it makes sense for me to try to keep going. But yeah, I'm only going to stream for about 2 hours today, basically till midnight. And then I might play some more games offline, because like I said, as much as I like playing Call of Duty and grinding and games like that, or any of my offline grinding games, I enjoy them. But I can't stream them because a lot of times they're games where it's like I focus too hard on the game. And if I look off to look at chat or any of that stuff, it always messes me up. And then like I don't have fun and I'm not showing my best at that point. And half the time I don't even play to win when it comes to like Call of Duty and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't even try to win. I'm literally just trying to have fun. And as much as people might be able to enjoy it, it's still like, you know, not putting out my best when it comes to it. So unless it's like Warzone with friends, I don't really want to do it. Alright, where is it going?
Together we hunt.
Alright, just got done with that quest. Yeah, I think it's that one now. 6 kilometers that way. Come on, man. I just realized how.
That shipment of supplies is finally coming. Huh. Hadn't heard. Well, at least it's good news for a change. Huh. You never actually listen to me, do you?
Alright, let me fix that. Sorry, I was tweaking with the camera the other day.
You're back.
See what happens if I do this. I might break everything. It really didn't break everything. So like if I do that, it actually like that's what Logitech thinks I should look like, is whatever this mess is. Where it kind of looks alright sharpness wise, but then it fucks up all the colors and everything looks super white. And that normalizes everything. Oh yeah, that's how I do it. Okay. I think it's this one. No. Was it this one? No. No. Yeah, I guess it looks fine then. Just not gonna think about it. I'm just noticing how pale it makes me look when I sit back. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Just won't think about it. That's why I've been wanting a tan lately. Because Logitech makes me look like extra white. So I want to get back to having dark skin. I feel wrong. Like, the self-image of me, like, you can't really see because of the lighting. But my hands and whatnot are actually, like, darker. And then there are bits of me that are pretty pale. Like, not pale. Like, I'm not goth pale. But, like, I'm pretty light-skinned these days. And so I want to fix that before there is no fixing it. Like, once you hit a certain age, it's like your body doesn't want to tan anymore, like, if you're not doing it constantly. So I want to actually, like, why would you even do that? What are you doing? Come on, Phobos. So I actually want to go out and tan probably here soon, now that it's nice and cool out. There's a lot of things I want to do, and I don't know why I hold myself back from doing them, but I need to just buckle down and do that sort of thing. Like, because how hard is tanning? You just lay there.
Talking in circles may work on others, Socrates, but not on me.
Better stay hidden.
I hate speed limits so much. He deserved it. Might take a pause and get some coffee. I don't know what it is about these lights, but they just make me tired. I swear, once I have these lights behind me somehow, like, I have an idea how I'm gonna do it.
Pots. And more pots.
But yeah, I have an idea how I'm gonna do it, and I just need to buy some shelving, basically. So here soon I'm gonna end up doing that, or I could just 3D print something, I suppose. Just have to be strong enough to take 6 to 12 pounds, I would say these are.
Let's go.
And I know they're less than that. They gotta be like maybe 3 pounds max. And then yeah, have them like up there, aim down, and then backwards.
Let's go.
In a way that
Ella.
I can move the desk forward more. And you really won't notice it. And then just use the ring light for the light for my face. Ooh, ooh. Am I barefisted? No, I'm not. No, wrong weapon. Don't die.
The hunt calls, my friend.
There we go. Now we got a pet worthy of us.
Move. Yeah.
Cassandra, by the gods!
Yeah, we.
By the gods, Aitor, is that you? You look... you look old, my friend.
When was the last time I saw you? Kefalonia. That job for Marcos. Remember? We ended
when I
up back
told
to
him
back,
the job,
surrounded by angry pirates.
Though, as I recall, I had your back.
Polish your memories like you would your armor, and they'll make much better tales.
I'd heard rumors you'd settled down in Attica. Always thought you'd die with a blade in your hand, not open up a shop.
The blade I always thought I'd take with me is missing. I could use your help, if you're willing to assist an old friend.
You mean Arpi? You loved that blade.
Some Malakas commander came in here demanding I fix his fucking twig. When I couldn't, he said I was obligated to provide a new one. And the one he wanted was hanging on my wall.
Alright.
I'll get Arpi back for you.
Don't do anything stupid. I just want her back.
Hey, you know me.
That's why I'm afraid.
Tell me where to find the commander.
He's here in Attica, at Fort Phili.
Okay.
Why go to so much trouble for an old sword?
She's the only thing I loved that never left.
And how will I know her when I see her?
How could you forget a hilt of gold with a curling serpent moving up the blade? Always sharp, no matter what. And when you swung her, well, she'd sing a siren song of death. Kept me alive through many a scrape.
That I do remember. I should be going.
Remember, we don't want trouble. Just sneak in and take it. You're still good at that, right?
I won't lower myself to answer that.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna go make a coffee real quick because I'm starting to like get a little tired and I need to stay up for another couple hours. So I will be ready to speak.
She's reloading! Damn it, no! Waste your ammo!
Kidding me? What am I missing? I'm basically giving it. Alright. Okay. Apparently that could happen. We're both kind of glitching around that thing anyways. I'm gonna be right back though.
make a soldier of you. Had a sacrifice day.
No. Damn it.
Try not to trip on these stairs.
Yeah, dang, he's gone. Check on that last one I killed. What do you have on him? Looks like a whole lot of nothing.
Steps! There we go!
Crap! Well, I found the loot, right? Aww. Yep. Yep.
You just
Come on, Chop. Let's go. Hi, big buddy. Can use the weapon wall. Throw a ball. You want a ball? You want the ball? Go get it.
Get it. Go on.
Get it. Oh no! Oh no! Oh my god, no! Oh. He's dumb. He can't get the ball.
It get away from you, little homie.
If that was real life, Chop just died.
Fetch, boy.
Well, that
Alright, man,
didn't
you
work.
cool.
Go get
The
it.
ball for me, boy.
I wonder if Chop can die. Yeah, I haven't seen him die yet, but I tripped over him early. I nearly unfollowed you. I'm so sorry, Toyker. I didn't realize.
That's real, homie.
I didn't think it would throw it that far. I thought I was just gonna throw it up the alleyway and then it'd stop around the sidewalk. See, his throwing is really messed up. There you go, Chop Chop.
You hood, Chop.
Ah, he's my good boy.
Bring it back.
That. And then I saw the train coming. I'm like, okay, never mind. Don't have to do nothing. Just duck down and hope for the best. Kicked you in the face. That's a successful push. Didn't even see it coming. I summoned trains. Train Wiz would be proud. It's fun. I appreciate that I've done that for a few people. But I also miss those people because since they started streaming, they aren't hanging around anymore, so I don't have them to talk to and whatnot, so it's kind of weird. It's one of those things where it's like, I love to see their success, but I miss them dearly. Like one of our mods is actually a streamer now. She's a cool kid. Looks like he's pulling in. Yeah, a lot of airtime. That's why I went third person to see if there's anything significant, but that's when I also ate the pavement. Oh, can I ramp this? Wait, nope. Ah! My bad. Oh, I broke it, Vegeta.
I got stopped by a cultist driving down my own street. They're They're playing state trooper make-believe.
Oh, yeah.
After the shit went down, I heard Merle took his truck over to Silver Lake Trailer Park. Duke can hold his own in a fight, but I'm worried he's gonna get in over his head.
Oh, you sound like you need help, little lady. I'm coming.
Deb, if you find yourself running low on funds, the best way to make a quick buck is to go hunting. There's a lot of folks out there who'll pay good money for meat and skins.
Now you go, bastard. No, bad kitty. Where's that kitty? Now where'd that bad kitty go? Huh. True facts, cougars. Cougars have similar body types to house cats, only on a large scale. Both types of cats are also giant a-holes. Oh man, I like whoever wrote that. Now how do I pick? There we go. Am I in the right spot? Oh, you could throw things! Oh god, I didn't even need to do that. Nope! Get wrecked. Don't you run from me. I threw a freaking bat at the cougar. Who does that? Oh my god. That was pretty great. Where did that bat go?
But live? I don't think so.
Excuse me, what kind of shape are you in?
To be honest, we have this thing in the army called the Pedimpotamus. What they do is they prey on the young private and his lovely BAH and his, money. Because he is a dumb private. So what she does is she preys on this young private and he doesn't know any better. And they get married, she gets pregnant, and then, yeah. Oh, I forgot to show you Twigger. Look at this little guy. I got it from Adobe today. I won a contest, last week? And it's a creative art director action figure.
Make it more interactive.
No.
No. That's not finished, is it?
It's supposed to be a hovering art director.
Just trust me. I'm an artist. Yeah. It feels too designed.
And he's got this cell phone in his back pocket, or it's like a little notebook, little sunglasses, little hipster, thing going on. He's kind of adorable. But apparently it's collectible because there's only a couple of these. But yeah, I won it on Twitter by they asked, what would you say to a hovering art director? And I said something along the lines of basically tell them to, tell them off, tell them how you feel and to leave you alone. And then the art director will realize that they have better crap to do than to hover over you. It's like your graphic design days are rushing down.
A powerful bear who loves his honey.
Okay, let's go over here to line 5. Please, speak some sense.
Hi, you're on the air.
Hi, Mrs. Murray.
I mean, I would screw this guy's voice. He has a very nice voice.
Oh, thank you.
It's like silky in that gravelly kind of way. Not the guy, not the action figure.
Choices between you, who give women a bad name, and a guy whose qualification for office.
Walker's head!
Oh. Haha! Just catching up on the chatting game. I like how that guy who was talking crap to me and calling me trash, like, as soon as I called him out for being number 2, like from the bottom, he kind of shut up. What if he's still playing? Yeah, he is sitting there still at number 2. He was calling the game trash and him trash and blah.
Are you offering me a job?
Can't jump. Look at that wall run. You wish you could wall run like me. I'm pretty sure you're not exactly supposed to be here, but yeah, it works.
Join us.
I'm coming for you. I love being Yoda so much. Yeah, esports are funny, but at least you'll get to try DX Racer most likely.
Of course,
I'm a true frogman, baby. Oh, I can break equipment. Oh, that's pretty sweet.
You cannot.
Chain me, you cannot. Forward to battle, brothers. Men, we will kill them.
There's gotta be a bounty on my head by now.
That's our girl. She's ready to assault the inner compound. All soldiers, prepare to attack. The stormtroopers will stall us while their superiors escape. We'll have to hit fast. Take the base. For the end of the Empire. I will not.
It's gotta be scary, a little green dude that's way faster than you chasing you. If I really wanted, I could wake up and go to work for 3 hours before. No, I would just call off from work, to be honest, for the whole day. And just hang out. You gotta mentally prepare for that sort of thing. Whipped out a lightsaber. I mean, though, Yoda looked good.
I'm ready for what's next.
I had a hard time believing he was having trouble fighting what's his nuts, but you know, that's just me. Oh, they finally got me. I don't know how many kills I was up to. Over 10. That's good. It's very good. Very good.
Going for the base!
Optional overtime. Yeah, but like I said, you wouldn't want to work before that. The tournaments are kind of draining. I enjoy it, but it's one of those things where you need sleep afterwards. I did the PUBG tournament at Twitch. and TwitchCon, and yeah. Definitely glad I did it first thing in the morning, because afterwards I was just so. Diesel on the rocks.
Ready to provide. Covering fire.
They're losing ground. One final surge.
Get my friggin' way! I'm trying to kill here.
Inferno squad, standing by.
I'm about to die.
Enemy leader taking point.
I guarded against the wrong one. I didn't know which grenade was gonna blow up. Yeah, we'll try a Wookiee. Yoda works as wise master, not really as a flying scroll. Yeah, but I like that he was like in the Clone Wars series and stuff like that. I like when he did fight or show up. That time he wouldn't actually fight, and that was the cool thing about him. Like he would show up and teach the clones that look, sometimes it's better to be smarter than just beat your head against the wall. And honestly, I enjoyed Yoda as a warrior because they are Jedi or warrior monks. And so it's really nice to see them actually do their, thing. I enjoy that, at least, especially Yoda. And that's why I didn't understand why they made him have such a hard time fighting Sidious. That actually grumped me out a little bit because I'm like, that's just stupid. It should have been someone else fight him, some no-name or something, who would get his fame from that. But you know what I mean? Like, finally have enough there.
Tell General Solo this might take a while. If there's anything to recover, we'll find it, but the damage is extensive. We got a lot of wreckage to sift through.
I'll let them know. Regroup with the others when you're done.
Careful, Commander. Single target on the trail ahead.
Customize items, load up, go.
Need a slice. Looking for enemies.
I've got eyes on two strike teams. One at the bunker, the other patrolling near the fallen walker.
Good spotting, Agent. We'll take it from here.
Okay, so I have to shoot that guy, kill those dudes.
What's taking so long?
Hydraulics are busted. Explosion must have welded them shut.
Can you open it?
I think so.
General Solo did a real number here.
To be honest, I doubt there's anything inside worth salvaging.
Won't know until we get inside.
3, 2, 1.
This turned out a lot better than Hoth.
Yeah, the circuitry is fried.
Day's not over
I'm gonna
yet.
attempt.
Night. This way, in a way, I'm not killing everybody, which is also nice. Sorry about that long break. That took longer than I thought it was going to. One of the things that happened was the coffee machine wasn't doing what it needed to do, and the thing wasn't working quite right, so I had to do things like poke a hole with a pair of scissors and stuff. But alright, we're good now. I still gotta fix this cup because it's making a mess every time I drink from it. I completely forgot when I first poured it. If I would have remembered, I would have used a different one. Anyways, let's get back to the game. Alright.
Come on.
I hope we all had a good little coffee break, bathroom break, whatever you did. Get a drink. Got your snackies. Oh, that's why I figured. I forgot I lowered my chair because I was actually using a... My mom has like a massage chair thing. Or a massage leg... Oh, it's thingy. And I had it under the desk the other day, but I needed to lower down so it wouldn't hurt my leg. It was pretty awesome. It does like your calves and your ankles and your feet. And it, you know, it actually is very comparable to the ones I used to get when I did a lot of physical therapy. I think it's pretty nice. Got this. Poor Phobos. I abuse her so much. I just wish, in a way, that this game, as annoying as it was in Odyssey, I kind of wish if I started swimming, someone would just kind of bring a boat over to me. Crap, wait. Where am I supposed to be going? How far is it? Yeah, it's over there to my right, so that means it should be this way. It's not telling me. Oh, there it is. It was hidden. Okay, so it's here. Oh, I just need to find a dock. Alright, south looks like the closest one.
Come on.
That's it, Phobos. Yeah, if I could, I would have a really badass trireme with like scorpion stuff on it. Scorpions would be like the swivel guns from Black Flag. Oh, we're at Marathon? Oh, neat.
Come on. Yeah.
Marathon's where we get the word marathon from, because some dude decided to run, well, whatever it was, 24 miles. And then died when he got done delivering the message. So to honor him, they made people start torturing themselves nearly to death. I personally just don't see why you would make a runner run that much. Like, I get why. It was an important message. But holy crap, bro.
Whoa!
Couldn't have at least borrowed a horse from someone? Oh, that's my ship. Wait, is it? No, that's not my ship. a second there I thought it was because like the front end looked fancy. It's like, oh yeah, that's fine. It ain't. But yeah, so I was talking about the launch. I didn't get to see it live, but I got to see it about an hour and a half after it happened. Which made me sad that I missed out on it, but still. I'm glad it happened. Apparently there won't be another one until next year. Much better.
Ready to sail!
Helm's ready for you, Commander.
I guess the only people allowed to wear shirts are basically lieutenants. Who's the big guy?
Salvage nearby!
Let me see. Yeah, where's Florida Man? Oh, we're missing one. Oh, there he is. Standing by the mast doing whatever he wants. Like a true Florida man. Alright, so...
Sails down! Ship the oars!
Sorry about that. Still getting used to the new mic setup.
Get the oars out!
Oh yeah, so we were talking about COD earlier. Now that they fixed a lot of the bugs with that big patch today, I'm digging it. Hardcore is pretty fun.
Days like these are a blessing from the gods.
It is a beautiful day.
Ah, the blue seas, the sunny sky, good companions, an exciting journey. This is the good life.
I agree.
Look there! Salvage!
Oh, so I've been enjoying it. They added hardcore, DMZ, Warzone 2.0, and Warzone 2.0 gives you bonus XP at the end of every match. Like, you get double XP time automatically. At least for now. I don't know if it's going to stay that way, but I hope it does, because that's actually pretty good. There's something else. I don't know. It feels like a brand new game now. Like, in a good way. I've been actually really enjoying the multiplayer. And I've been really enjoying the, like, core was fun and all, but I'm not a core person. Like, I don't really enjoy it. So, doing hardcore is where it's at. But the only downside is because it's no HUD, absolutely no HUD, not even the kill feed. You can't really do quad feeds the same way. Not unless you upload it yourself and be like, see, look, it happened. Because, like, your own team doesn't even know what's going on. I've been just doing hardpoint. And then I did like 4 guns today, hit level 76 I think it was, if not higher. 79, somewhere there. Like, I kind of know lifed it, because like I said, I needed to stay awake today. So I watched like 4 episodes of Critical Role Campaign 2. I'm on, I think, 109 or 110. And yeah, just straight no lifed it. Like other people still level 55s while I'm like in my 70s. Just want to see something real quick.
We are pulling up to that salvage.
Oh, okay, that's what that means. Okay. Q. Time to help.
Towers in position!
To battle! For Ares!
Bows ready! Make!
Yeah.
They're speeding up for a...
Oh, we're good.
Ready! Spin! Archer!
We need to break...
I did that in order to avoid the hit. But I think they're gonna hate us. What's that?
Charge!
Oh, that's right. Runner rifle.
How much more can you take?
Get him, Florida man. Oh, let's have to jump off without looting. Kicking the crap out of Athenians is its own reward. Play Warzone DMZ. I didn't get to try DMZ yet because I didn't want to do it alone. I'll be playing though in what, an hour?
We're taking damage from that fire!
Like 50 minutes.
Increase speed! Drop the sail!
Like I'm doing a quick stream
the
today
oars
of
ready!
this.
Now we
Kind of
took
get
that
through some
one!
of the story. And then going back to the COD grind. I did
We're taking
get
damage
to
from
level
the
7
flames!
something for the
Get ready to fire!
So far it's been fun.
Forward!
And like I said, they fixed all the problems with, like, I haven't had a single crash, so hasn't been like 3-4 days now. And that's like 7 hours a day that I've been playing. I've been straight no lifing it. I almost have all my skins. So I'm still kind of working on skins. Like, I'm now on the hardest ones, which were like,
Faster!
knife and... Oh, why was they attacking the Spartan? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Poor little guys. I just got done getting Riot Shield of Gold and Knife to Gold. Knife was...
Come on!
Riot Shield was...
Ready to shoot! Use the fire!
Hell, we can probably salvage that!
I had nothing better to do. Like I said, I needed to stay awake today. Nice try. Oh.
Let's see what they make of fire.
And it's been a super casual grind compared to Modern Warfare. Like the skin grind in Modern Warfare was real hard compared to this. This has been like easy peasy. I hope it stays easy. You know what I mean? Like I don't want them to make it harder for people. Because people are already trying to say, hey, what about casual gamers? And I agree.
Well, this will be a challenge.
Like, I want it to be somewhat casual. That way I don't spend a year grinding this game.
Set them up!
Job just finished. And if I could stay home and no life it, yeah, I
They are
would
headed
done with it
straight
too.
for us.
Onward!
That's-
We've reached full speed!
They're gearing up to ram us.
They can try.
We're
I like
going
how
as
they
fast as we can.
Master! We're at maximum speed!
I think we're out of danger here. You had me worried for a second.
Yeah, but I'm not a fan of BRs by myself anymore. Like, I used to do it in, like, PUBG and stuff.
We're at
And
full
now
speed!
trying to do them alone is just so boring to me. Especially because a lot of them don't give me anything for the grind. So unless I was doing something like that where it's ranked, it really wouldn't matter.
Much better as allies.
Yeah, having friends, it's like Tarkov. Playing Tarkov alone, boring as shit. I can't do it. It's not even made for that. It's made for like 3-man plus. At least, you know, duo. I can't honestly do it by myself. I just get so bored. Oh, there it is. It's my husband.
Brasidas, you're here.
You got my message.
I heard about Pilos. Are you all right?
I've been through worse. We have bigger problems right now.
See, but I don't want to deal with that. I want to play with my friends, people I actually know and can have fun with.
After Pilos,
Not some randoms.
what happened?
The remaining Spartans found me and gave me time to recover. So I did.
But your leg.
You disappeared from battle.
I was captured. Taken to Athens for an interrogation with Deimos and Cleon.
They didn't kill you?
They tried.
What's the matter, husband?
So, Cleon's in Amphipolis.
I'm gonna marry
Somewhere.
you whether you like it
And
or
in
not.
armor, I hear. He'll fight for his life today.
He wants to be the hero. Athenians can't think much of him after what he did.
Let's get going.
This is our chance, Brasidas. We kill Cleon today.
If you don't, then I will.
There's something you're not telling me.
I am here for Cleon. Let's keep it at that.
I thought we were friends.
You're not who I thought you were. You were raised Spartan. You should know how to be loyal.
Oh yeah, of course. But I'm also okay. I'm also okay with not playing those games until my friends are ready. So like a lot of these guys don't jump on until like 10 p.m. our time, and I'm okay with that. So I usually stream or do other things until like they're actually done with what they're doing and they want to play some games. Like I don't mind putting it off. I'm loyal to you.
I came here, didn't I? We're fighting the same fight.
You haven't proven that.
Let me prove it now.
We're wasting time. Athens is gathering reinforcements. We need to attack now. Let's go.
Malaka.
Today, we give everything we have. No giving up.
But yeah, So yeah, unless I'm playing with people, like it's just not worth it. So I just grind other games. Like COD, I can solo grind.
The Athenians are here!
Spartans,
charge! Archers on the wall! They need to be shot down!
What the fuck?
You want the gods!
I can't believe you did it!
Alright,
Somebody help me!
Hit the wrong guy and still won.
You want
You'll never marry me! And get over here!
Alright, yeah, I'll be up. Well, it's more about you. Let me know what time you're gonna be awake and stuff, because I don't know what you do these days.
You will spill your blood today! You'll regret fighting me! You can't run forever!
Suck it. Blue-faced bitch. Alright.
Mi Bernard! Get that piece for the gods!
Where aren't you, bastard?
I'm stuck. Nice try.
You can't possibly
It's one down. Ah. GG.
The Athenian camp is ahead! Destroy it all!
That is not what I thought you said. I did not think you said the word camp. Oh shit. Let's do this. I'm fucking ripped, dog.
A bad day for Athens! A glorious day for Sparta!
For Sparta! But like, it's less cringe.
Keep fighting!
Their defeat is imminent!
I am sorry. Now I found that. Some popping shots.
By my side! We've got them now!
wonder what would happen if I kicked him.
Gold, let's go!
He skimmed across the water like a stone. Trash. Better, faster, stronger, more beautiful. It's not doing anything.
We are on the road to victory!
Incoming hero. Or is it? Ooh. Hey, brother wants round 2. Well, why are you just gonna let him do that to you? And you.
You want war?
What? Your sword, husband. A spear is no match for a fucking sword. My boy, no! What? I'm so fucking mad. I feel like I must have done
Everything
something
so
wrong.
Personally.
Oh fuck, he's dead?
Shit.
Oh, I'm gonna kill the shit out of Cleon because I gotta take my rage out on someone.
Fucking coward! She can't get away.
Yeah, you literally can't. He doubts how amazing I am. Come here, you piece of shit. I'm gonna kick you in the nuts until you die.
This isn't your fight, Cassandra.
Unfortunately for you, it is.
It's not too late, you know. You can still join us.
We're not in Athens. You can't talk your way out of this.
Why won't you just leave me alone? This
You
is all your fault.
killed my brother. After he killed my favorite human being. But still, fuck you. Drown him. Please drown him.
Cassandra, come now.
Or rip off
Show
his lower
mercy.
jaw at the
You
middle.
turned him against us. My own brother.
We lifted Demos up. We made him great, unstoppable.
You made him a monster.
That sounded like a weak ass
Then
slap. Hit him
fight
harder.
by his side. Teach him. You would have Demos once again.
His name is Alexios.
I beg you. This world is severed, Cassandra, and we'll unite it.
Shut the fuck up.
Smash his head in
hands
with
are
a
empty.
rock.
Have pity.
Eh.
You don't deserve a quick death. But you'll earn what you meet at the gates of Hades.
No.
Now, kneel.
You don't understand.
Drown
no
his
one
ass.
will forget me. Cleon of Athens. I will be remembered.
Or, yeah, alright, cool.
You're already forgotten. That's it then. Myrine will
Sorry.
want to know Cleon is dead.
I want to make sure
And
you're dead.
Brasidas. I should have gotten to
Oh,
Demos
shark
sooner.
is.
I'm sorry, my friend.
Enjoy. That was so upsetting. Ah. Like, I'm legitimately mad they killed my favorite man in this game. Like, all right, you know what? I gotta poke the expert. Where's my boy? Where is he? What, did he just get up and walk away with a spear in his fucking head? Where the fuck is he? Man, cleaned up the battlefield somehow. Alright, well now what do I do? Shit, is there really... I wonder if there's something I could have done different. My husband's dead. I'm so upset. This is bullshit. I wanted her to marry him. They were gonna have beautiful spotted babies. They were gonna be like Arnold Schwarzenegger's offspring. But instead of a housekeeper, you know. Wait, is that him? Looks like... Oh, that's one of the mercenaries. I kind of want to kill Alexios now. I was trying to save him before, but now I'm kind of like... You know, if I bury an axe in his head, he can't cause any more problems.
Ready to depart!
Commander! Back!
What the fuck is the boat doing? Oh, I guess it's spinning us around. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. For a second there, though, I was just like, what is happening? Man, what a waste of a trip. All of that just to watch our boy die.
More speed! Fast as we can!
Salvage nearby!
Oars in! Full sail!
I'm a little depressed now. Like, holy crap. I'm actually sad. Of all the people they could have killed in the game, I would have taken Socrates over that. And I like Socrates a lot. Like, I wish I could redo the game and try to please him more. Maybe he wouldn't have got injured.
Don't mind taking a look.
Sucked
Any
in that fight a
closer
little
might
bit.
get us into trouble.
Get your weapons ready!
Oh, the little dinky ship wants to attack. Alright. Alright, just give me a second.
Ready the oars! Archers to the front!
Pitching yet.
If I may, Commander, I'd keep my distance from this one.
Shut up.
Archers! We need you! Spears at the ready! Go! Burn them!
Someone better fire out!
Oh, that's why.
Set fire to the weapons! Spear volley!
I think we're out of danger.
Some days I think I'm in the wrong business.
riggedy, wrecked, son.
Shipboard!
Oh, shit. Yeah, and even after drinking that coffee, I still feel tired.
Salvage nearby. Shall we pick it up?
Must not have been enough caffeine. Should probably get like what is it? Cappuccino or something. Or a latte. I hear that's all espresso. Apparently espresso affects me like normal people, which is nice. Well, sometimes, depending on the way the coffee's made and stuff like that, it makes me tired, so I might have made a mistake by making
Should we
that
clap
coffee.
the salvage, Commander?
I've been noticing lately, though, that hot chocolate actually keeps me awake better than the actual coffee. Also, that's another thing. I've been having a lot of brain issues lately. Having bad brain days where it's like I can't remember words, I'll be in the middle of doing something and then I forget what I'm doing. Like I'll literally be holding, let's say I want to make chocolate milk. So I'm literally holding the milk in my hands, no cup yet, and I'm just like, why the hell am I holding milk? Like it's the worst. So kids, don't ever get brain trauma. It's not good for you.
There's something floating there. We can retrieve it. Sing us another song.
Sing. Exactly are we going? Okay, Laconia. Going back to Sparta. Alright. Oh, so in other news, I'm planning on, like I've always said, I'm going to build my own chair. So I'm actually going to use this chair for it. Like, it's a good base. The only thing is there's like zero cushion on it, so I'm going to start with a cushion. It's one of the reasons I've been having so much trouble sitting here for long periods of time. It's because there's like zero cushion. Like right now it feels like I'm sitting on a wood board because there's like, zero cushion left. Yeah, so I'm going to work on custom building a chair because it'd be cheaper than buying some of these pre-made chairs that are cool, but they're not quite what I specifically need because of the way that my injuries were and stuff like that. Like, I've tried the racing chairs, even though that one was too small, it also wasn't very comfortable. Like, it fit me as far as the bottom cushion goes. The top, not so much. But, you know, it still wasn't that comfortable. So I think, yeah, I'm gonna start custom building the chair that I've always wanted. Which is kind of like, in my brain, a mix of a Lazy Boy and something in a Star Trek, but it's not going to end up as either of those things, so... I am definitely going to make a leg rest as a part of it. Like, have it so that it folds in and sits underneath, and then when I want it, I just, like, pull a lever, and then it boop, 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 like in 3 pieces, kicks out. And then there, I'm gonna have a platform, kind of like you do at when you get your hair cut. And then I'm gonna arrange it in such a way that it can adjust upward or downward, adjust up and down lengthwise, so from your legs down. And then, yeah, like I said, the ankle kind of angle. And then I'm also going to make it a platform so that while it's a platform, it'll actually be able to have things like,
Bad weather for sailing, Commander.
what was it? Oh, so I'll be able to have, whenever I do get around to eventually having the money to buy flight sim type stuff, I would actually be able to afford and have, like, afford space, I should say. I would actually be able to have, what's his name? Pedals.
We need to keep
Also,
away from the shoreline here.
a friend-
Years ago, we found a dying man on the beach. Arms ripped from his body, face scarred by terror. With his last breath, he warned of a beast who roams the woods near the shore.
A beast? Really?
Yes, a monster! With big red flaming eyes and a roar like Zeus's thunder.
And, of course, you've seen it.
Like the gods, we never see them, but know they exist. You think Zeus doesn't exist? We can't see him with our own eyes.
Well, of course, but...
Herodotus, he's got a point.
Alright. So, yeah, what was I saying? Oh, so a friend of mine who's in game development, I gave him an idea for a game. He said that would be a really badass game. And I said, how would I get this made? And he's like, basically, you either own a studio or work in a studio and earn your way up, stuff like that, or you make it yourself. So he's given me sort of like tools that I might be able to do it myself. And I know it'd have to be a 100% fan project, and if the IP that owns that thing finds out without me actually getting official permission to do it eventually, like when it would actually be somewhat playable, I would definitely get freaking DMCA'd or cease and desist at the very least. And I don't want that, so but I might start working on something in the next probably year or two. And all you need to know is that the IP that it'd be from is Gundam, and 100% it'd be better than any other game they've been putting out because they get the license out to everybody and their mother, and half the time they put out kind of games. Like even the recent Gundam game that's I've been seeing esports type stuff on. It looks very... it's aight. But yeah, I have a plan. But I just want to say it here so it's on official record that if anyone ever comes out with my game, like, somehow, like, they have my exact what I wanted the game to be, I know someone blabbed or they stole my idea and I could 10 out of 10 sue them. Just kidding. I wouldn't be able to sue them because I don't own the IP. But yeah. Yeah, so I have a fan project game that I might start working on. And because it'd be considered indie, and because of the way indie works, it would definitely take years. But that would be cool. Because I would actually want to, the way I put it before, is if I ever do something like that, I want to take you guys with me. So those, if I were to stream it or whatever I do, or YouTube videos, it would 10 out of 10 become one of those how-to videos of like, we're going to make a game together. We're going to figure it all out together. could do that. But anyways, that's one of my plans. Oh yeah, I did want to clean the runs today. That might actually help it be a little clearer. But anyways, so those are some of the future plans that I've been working on. Oh, merch is coming.
Rowers, to your oars!
After what, 4 years of saying that it's coming, I finally have like a somewhat realistic plan on how to make it happen. That downstairs, we can see it over there.
Everyone to battle positions!
I'm sorry, I couldn't see because I was busy texting and driving, basically. It should be right here. It'll take them too long to turn around to come get me, so screw.
We fought a good fight. Not for the last time, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, there was one more thing I wanted to check. So this has been kind of like a tech preview for all the stuff I've been doing lately, behind the scenes.
Start rowing!
See the one I like, you know, that one.
I didn't even tell him to do that. That's funny.
Ready for docking!
It doesn't really tell me. Okay. Yeah. Alright.
We're friends now.
I'm ready for a nap.
Let's go.
Ain't no time to nap now. Gotta stay awake. At least until like 3 a.m. So, I'm not gonna stream till then because these lights, like I said before, they kind of. Oh, so I figured out why that is. I'm pretty sure it's because I go to sleep when the sun comes out. Around like 10 a.m. Lately I've been staying up till like 12 or
I'll
1.
be on high alert
But
here.
still.
Ούκας φαλές εστί.
Τι άνοιξη φαίνεται!
Bet you regret causing trouble.
I'll kill you and God
Well, that was an accident.
Killing another Mystios always pays so well.
There we go. Sometimes the shield jab is really useful. No idea why.
Let's ride.
Ella.
Oh, get up there.
Yeah.
Ah, dang.
Yeah. Ella.
Come on. Get up there.
Ella. Yeah.
Off we go now.
Oh, okay. I thought I went over it.
Yeah.
This landscape is starting to remind me of Mortal Kombat. I think it was the first one had a big, like, scene like this.
stay hidden if I don't want to fight.
My lamb, you've been gone so long.
It's been like 3 days.
Brasidas is dead. No. Demos killed him in battle. And what of my son? Cleon fired an arrow into Demos's back. The wound didn't look fatal. He could still be alive.
Malakas, Cleon. I'll kill him with my bare hands.
It's done, Mater. I already sent that snake to the Styx. My family. You're all I have left. Mater, there's something I need to do. I need to go to Mount Taygetos, where it all began. My whole life has been spent fighting and running. Running from my past, fighting to forget. I can't do this anymore. My heart was shattered on that mountain. I need to put that night behind me, once and for all. I'm coming with you.
All right.
Off we go now. Yeah! Ella. This is where everything changed. It's like I never left.
Alexios!
Daddy. Where's Daddy?
On the edge of the world, a mother calls out to her child. Touching.
Alexios. Please.
You use that name as if it means something to me.
It's the name your father and I gave you.
Was that before or after you brought me to this mountain to die?
It was the cult! I tried to save you! I did everything! The priest told me you were dead.
And they told me you abandoned your son!
Alexios, come to me. We are your family. We can go home.
Yeah.
Family?
Don't be a butthole.
Home. My sword is my family. The battlefield is my home.
I promised to bring him back, Mater. But the cult has poisoned his mind.
Promised to bring me back to Mater, did you? You didn't bring me here. Why don't you tell our Mater the truth?
And what truth is that?
That I'm the chosen one. I'm the one with a destiny. I will bring order to this world. You're nothing but a mercenary with a broken spear.
The cult is using
You don't have a destiny! You are just a tool used by the cult!
Probably should have said the other option, though.
I'm glad you said
Let's be honest.
Since we first met, I've been trying to figure out what you are to me. You're a weed, trying to choke and destroy everything I've planted. And you know the best way to kill a weed? Is at the root.
Yep.
Alexios.
He's gonna try to kill Mom.
When I was little, I found a lion cub trapped in a snare. My friend tried to free it. That's when I heard the deadly growl of its mother. I watched as the lioness tore my friend to bloody shreds.
Uh-huh.
Even in the world of beasts, a family protects its young!
I loved you! I still love you.
The one you love is dead. My destiny is clear. And I won't let you get in my way.
I don't want to fight you.
Alexios, listen to me. You are my brother. I tried to protect you once, and I failed. I will not fail again.
Love you, bro. As much as I want to kill you a little bit for killing my future husband.
This belonged to our grandfather.
This calls for emergency pocket bacon.
You're home now.
I've done terrible things.
I don't understand what happened.
We all have, Alexios.
Now he's fine.
I know.
I guess I did it right.
Cassandra, wait. Thank you.
Now hug your boy. Can't believe they killed my boy. Demigod's chestplate, Demigod's belt, and Sword of Damocles. This is fun. Demigod's boots, bracers, and the Ghost Whisperer something. Ghost Whisper to Demos. Cultist clue. Fun. Alright, but that's what we're gonna stop it here. And we'll pick it up tomorrow. So sorry about the short stream. But yeah, I've been busy, and then on top of it threw off my sleep schedule, so I'm trying to do things a certain way that I need to in order to maintain a somewhat normal schedule. But anyways, just remember, I love you guys very much. I'm so happy that you guys always come and support me and everything you do. Heck, even following me on my multiple social media platforms makes me smile whenever I get a new follower, new notifications for anything. I love that stuff. Oh, we have a offline follow that I forgot to mention earlier because I was busy dealing with technical stuff. Violain Shinavard, something like that. Thank you for that follow. Welcome to Mobile Infantry Trooper. Now you're one of us. Yeah. So have a great night, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Dad advice. Dad advice today: buy shoes that fit. As you age, sometimes your shoes might not fit quite correctly. It could even become wides instead of narrows, or what have you. Your feet do change as you grow older, and each foot might be different sizes. So every couple of years at least, or once a year, whenever you go to buy new shoes, make sure you get both feet checked, and then buy shoes that properly fit, or you might end up with crowding, which could be real bad for your feet. It actually causes a lot of issues, and yeah, you don't want that. Heck, you don't want bunions. But anyways, have a wonderful evening. I'll see you all tomorrow.